Hey, it's Don here, and if you were with me last time around, I unboxed all the parts that came with my Sideshift Stern Thrusters and kind of showed you everything that needs to be hooked together to make the system work. This time around, we're going to hook all this stuff together. It's surprisingly, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. It's dark outside. It's rainy. We've entered the rainy season. I'm almost coffeeed up. I've been to town and got my 2-aught battery cables. I have some red and some black of this stuff. Big stuff, difficult to work with, very expensive to buy. $10 a foot for this stuff. So anyway, let's jump right in and see if we can't build this thing, shall we? All right, well, what I've done is just to give you some idea how this is going to work out. I've set my batteries on my little platform that I've built for them. And roughly speaking, this is about how they're going to go. Now I have straps that I bought to tie them down. So I wanted to set them on here before I put them down in the closet over there and figure out how the straps need to be oriented. But I do think I will keep them this way with the terminals close together. This end will be farthest away from our control board, which is going to go right here. That's this board. Okay, it's going to go roughly like that, although might be not right up against batteries, but it will go roughly like that. And then so on this end we're going to have a short wire, and it's going to be yellow, or at least have yellow tape on it to signify that we're hooking these batteries up in series. And then our hot and ground on this end are what go to our components. Now let me just resituate things a bit and I'll show you our components and how they're going to lay out. Okay, so to build this diagram out and make it work, what we're going to have is we're going to have our battery disconnect switch is going to go to the negative ground on the batteries. In this position it's in right now, the green shows that the battery is turned on, and click back this way, it will be turned off. I think I want it situated such that when I look down from the top, this being the top, I'll be able to see the green there and know that the batteries are turned on, and it'll be situated like this. Now, let me just show you a little bit about this disconnect switch. The back pops off of this before it's screwed down, and we've got 2 lugs in there. And then these doors slide out to give us room to come in with our cabling. And there's doors on all 4 sides of this so that no matter how we orient it, we can get our cable in. So this is going to go roughly, probably about here. This rough line right here, lined up with my 2 bolt holes on the bottom, from here down is about at the top of the battery. So this part down here will not be used. All of my connections will be from here above, and I'm going to try to keep them fairly close to the top just to make it easy to see without having to stand on my head to get in there. So battery disconnect switch is going to go about here, and that negative line is going to come off the battery up to here, out of here, and to this post right here, which is noted as common ground. So this battery disconnect switch makes sense to be on this side of the device, and then the device will probably sit maybe right here, and we'll have our cable come up and turn a 90 and go over to it. Then this device goes to our hot side of the battery, comes off of this post right here, which is battery positive, and we'll have a lug on here and a lug on here, but when it goes into this device, there is no lug on there. We're just stuffing the cable straight in. So we'll just strip down our 2-aught cable, press it in there. There's set screws in here that screw into these holes to tighten it down. So this will give us indication of voltage, and it's also our fuse. So we're going to come off this top lug into this, and we might situate this guy something like that so that we can come over, turn the corner, and go into here. Then basically we're going to come out of here and go to our hot post on our battery, going to come out of here and go to our ground post on our battery, and then these 2 lugs here will get the actual thruster cables, and so that will probably, we'll route that, we'll come in and route that up either this side along and hook into it, or this side and hook into it. And then these 3 wires right here are what get connected to our little transmitting unit, which will probably sit right here. So that's how our components are going to lay on this board. I've got to go back to the store and get a little bit longer bolts to bolt this up there. But I think I've got that situated so that's going to work okay. And we're making pretty good progress on kind of planning this thing out. Alright, so this is our first board. We've got our battery switch here. Like I said, I wanted to have the green indicator up. On the fuse and meter here, this turned out to be kind of backwards to how I was planning on putting it initially, because the load side is this side, the battery side is this side, and it was just not going to fit very well. This 2-watt cable is really quite difficult to work with in short runs like this. It's fine once you get a long run, but it's pretty difficult to get bends and so forth. So what I wound up doing was cutting these to length, getting the ends on them, getting them kind of situated, and then placing this where it would work based on the cable. So this will go to our ground lug. We've got an end here that they supplied. I don't have it crimped on there yet, but I wanted to wait until I knew how much cable I needed. So that's not going to be very long. That'll basically go there. And then our transmitter needs to go here somewhere, and I think it's probably going to have to wind up kind of going there. And then its cable, although again we just need to make sure it fits, but its cables are going to come to here. So these 3 are going to come here, this one's going to go to our ground, and then that'll clip into there. So I think this will be okay. And then this one, we're going to have to put a connector in here and run this to the battery. So this will have to have a wire extended and a big spade lug put on it so it can go on a battery post. And this has also got a small fuse inside of there. They did send us an extra one of those. So there we have it. So I have these cables here not cut to length yet. These 2, red and black, to our batteries. I'm gonna have to now put this in, set the batteries in, and figure out how long I need of this to kind of get me situated here. So there we have it. All right, well, here we have it. Our stuff is kind of sitting in place here so that I can figure out how much of our 2/0 cable I need to cut off here. So now that I've got that, I'll mark it. I'll pull my board back out. I'll terminate these cables here, about here and about here. So this one's going to go to this post, this one's go to this post. Back here we'll have a little short guy connecting the two for our hooking them up in series. I've just got my straps kind of hanging for right now. They're ready to be tightened up and hold the batteries in place. And I don't have this actually bolted in yet. I've just got the bolts through the wall so I can lift that back out. It's tight. I knew it was going to be a little tight, but I think it'll be okay. And just in case we wind up right back in here somewhere putting bolts on, got plenty of room to work, although not sure how that's going to play out. But we'll see where we wind up putting our backing plates. Probably a little closer inboard than that, I think. Maybe behind down in here. So, but yeah, I think we're going to be all right. So I'm going to put a little piece of tape around my 2/0 cable there, pull that out, cut and terminate those, put my last little controller and transmitter on there. Then I also have got a box. So I'm going to extend this 110 outlet from the back here and bring it around and possibly cut a hole through here. And I'm thinking of hanging my charger on the opposite side of this wall over here, since I have plenty of room, and then just going through with one hole through the wall there for all my cables. So I'll see how that works out, but I was thinking that might be easier just because I'm kind of running out of room on the other side. So I'll kind of map that out next and see how that goes, and then get this finished up. All right, well, this is our finished board, with the exception of I need one more round connector to put on here to go to our hot post of our battery. I just got back from town, picked up some more of those. Wasn't sure which size I needed, so I got two different sizes. I have my cable built to go between my two batteries. As I mentioned, the yellow tape on there signifies that it's in series. And then this is basically what the floor of the saloon looks like right now, or the salon. It's chaotic, but it's getting there. We're almost ready to go put the port side all together. I got the batteries back in the hole back there and about ready to hook everything up. Alright, well, sorry to leave you hanging out in the closet here, but I got really frustrated last night trying to hook up my 2/0 battery cables. They're really difficult to bend when they're short, and they're pretty short. So I'm having a hard time. Plus they give you this little rubber cap that you put over there, and the cap's in the way while you're trying to put the bolt back through. I'm on the hot side of battery number 2, the inboard one, and you know, you have the 2/0 cable. I have the ring post connector for the charger cable, and I have the ring post connector for the control unit of the thruster. That all has to be on that bolt before it screws back in there. And they give these little rubber caps that you're supposed to put over the top of it, so if something drops in there, you know, can't hit your posts. And that cap will only come back so far out of the way / not really out of the way. Makes it just a very difficult process to put the bolt back in when you're, you know, standing on your head trying to squeeze your shoulders through and get both arms through the hole and get in and do the work. It has me a little bit questioning my decision to put the batteries in the closet here. There's a bigger closet to the right of me, and last night, in throes of desperation, I thought maybe I'm just going to put the batteries in the closet. But the other side of the boat, over there on the port side or the starboard side, there is no such closet. There's drawers. So if I were to go with the bigger closet that's either easier to work on That would mean I would have to have both sets of batteries over here, which would mean a couple things. A, all the weight would be on one side of the boat. It's not a ton of weight, you know, they're 80 pounds a piece, so it'd be an extra 160 pounds on this side opposed to what's on that side. I don't know that we'd really notice that, but the other downfall would be that I would have to run my cable from my thruster on that starboard side clear across the back of the boat and up into the closet here, and I don't know if there's enough cable to do that. I might look at that because this is turning out to be kind of a nightmare. It would sure be easier if these batteries were a little easier to work on. So I'm going to give it one more try today and see how this goes, and if I am struggling like I was yesterday, I might step back, take a pause, and see how long of cable they give me from the thruster to where it's got to connect to the control unit, and just see if I could make that, because then I'd at least know that I have that option. So I'm going to tear back into this. I don't know if you're going to be able to watch anything I'm doing. I'm just looking around for a place to put you. And there's barely room for my noggin in here, and I think if I set a camera up high, all you're going to see is the back of my head while I try this. Plus, you'd probably hear some curse words, which would get me banned on YouTube, so I'd have to bleep out the whole thing. Let me just work on this for a minute, and I'll come back and give you an update on how we do. All right, well, I did get it. I wasn't able to rescue that bolt. I tried pushing a piece of wire through, see if I could push it out, but it must have gone way to the center of that board or something. It's gone. Can't reach it, and I can get my arm quite a ways under there when I'm standing completely on my head, but yeah, I can't get it. So anyway, if I turn on my battery, you can see we get 25.8 volts, which we're supposed to have there, 24 volts. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can kind of see on my hand there, the LED is blinking on our transmitter, which is what it's supposed to do until it pairs up with the control unit. And then, so it blinks fast until it pairs up, and then once it's paired, it blinks like once every 30 seconds or something. So these are my cables for the charger. So those are hooked up, and we're good to head over to the other side. All right, well, I'm pretty sure in a previous video I gave you my big dissertation on planning out your projects. And then I failed to plan this project properly, and now here I am at a point where things have gone a little bit awry on me. The batteries won't fit on the starboard side down in the bottom of the closet like they fit on the port side. The Problem is there's some hoses down there for the hot water that circulates around to heat the boat, and they're run completely differently than they were on the other side. They're angled up and in the way, and I wound up having to kind of step the platform up a little bit to set the batteries on, and when I did that, then there was not enough room for the battery to clear the exhaust tube out of the back of the boat. So the batteries just won't fit in the starboard side below that false floor. So I have two options at this point. One is I could put the false floor back in. Maybe it would have to be reinforced a little bit, but it could hold the batteries there, and then I could put the control unit up on the side. But that's going to be not very much room to work in there. I mean, because it'd be a tighter fit than it would be on the other side. So that's one option. The other option is to put everything over on the port side and run the cable from the thruster on the starboard side over to there. Now I went up and measured that cable. It's 8 feet of cable, and I would need about 10. So I would have to splice that cable, probably put lugs on it and hook it to a connector bar, and that wouldn't be the end of the world. And I don't think 2 feet of cable is going to add enough resistance to cause me any problems with the thrusters. So that's option 2. Now if I do option 2, I might just kind of redo the existing one and put all 4 of the batteries in that long closet, so that I could have everything easier to work on, and maybe even put a little false floor over the batteries so I could still drop shoes or stuff in there and not lose all that functional space there. So I've got a little bit of re-planning to do. My initial plan was going along pretty good, but I was running part of it off of memory. I'd been in that compartment before, and I didn't really remember that it was much different than the other side, and I thought it was going to be fine. I just wasn't. I should have looked at that earlier on. So it's still rainy up here. In fact, we got 1.4 inches of rain yesterday. At one point it just was a deluge coming down. It was the craziest rain I've ever seen up here. But so it's a good time to be working on this. If I was out trying to poke around in the mountains, have some fun, there's not much to do when it's this rainy. And there's a cool looking boat going by, sorry. But I think I'm probably gonna go have a sit down and really plan this thing out and figure out how much of this I'm gonna redo. I might reach out to the guys at Sideshift and just say, hey, how big of a problem is it to make that 8-foot cable 10 or 11 or even 12 feet long, and see if they say, oh, that's bad, or if they just go, yeah, not a big deal. It's not like my distance on the 24-volt side is going to get much bigger from the battery to the control unit. That doesn't have to get any bigger, or maybe a few inches is all, but it's the cable that comes off that control unit down to the thruster itself that has to be longer on that one side only. The port side's going to be fine, but the starboard side has to have to be extended. So I got to sort all that out, and there's been a lot going on around here. I saw a big old boat get towed in by towboats the other day. I was thinking, boy, I hope that guy paid up his Towboat USA membership before he had to call the towboats to take him back in. But I've talked too much, and this video is getting a little bit long, so I'll probably just wrap this one up, because I need to take a breather anyway from this little thing for a minute and just go think things through and plan things out. Because if I do decide to do all 4 of the batteries on the one side in the same spot, I'll probably wind up redoing my base for them, and this is going to kind of set me back a little bit, because I'm going to be redoing some of the work, and I have to decide if it's worth it to do that, or if it's okay the way it is right now. So I will report back when I do that, but for right now I think I'm going to let you go about your business, and I'll go about mine, and we'll see each other next time around.